said, you can heal my daughter. And Jesus rebuts her and says, you know, I didn't come for you. I came only for the chosen ones. I love the quick wit of this woman. She comes right back at Jesus. And she says, but don't even the dogs get the crumbs that come from the table? You know, the word dogs, that was a word that was used against her. She took back that was stolen from her. She took back the dignity that had been stolen from her. She took that back and she just said to him, yeah, but the dogs get the crumbs that come from the table. So you might be here just for this group of people, but I'm worth something as well. Yes. I'm worth being listened to. I'm worth my experience of who you are. I'm worth something today. And in that moment, Jesus is transformed, humbled. And he looks back at this woman and she says, you're right. I need to expand my vision. I need to expand what I know about women. I need to expand what I know about those who are not part of this chosen ones. And from that moment forth in Jesus' ministry and life, not only did he validate women, but he also extended the new realm of God beyond those who were just part of the chosen race, those who were part of the in-group, those who were part of what they thought was right at that moment. That's good news for us. It's good news. That's progressive Christianity for us, because we get to expand the table of God every time we think that we have cut it off. God comes along in the face of another person and says, oh no, there's yet another person to be welcomed at the table in this radically and fully inclusive God that we believe in. Sisters and brothers, we need to be a church that addresses the issues as we see them real in our world. And sexism is one of them. As those of us who are men, and perhaps I should just speak for myself, I know that I buy into sexism every now and again. It's a different kind of sexism, but I know I do. I know that whenever I want something put on a wall here in this church, I make a phone call to the lesbians with the power tools. That's pretty sexist. It's pretty sexist. Because I know many men who've got power tools as well. I'm just not sure they know how to use them. I don't want to make light of this. But I know whenever I want flowers, or I want something to look fabulous, I call on a man. That's sexist. Because to be honest with you, what I should be doing is I should be looking at the talents of the individuals regardless of the gender of their body. Yes. You see, we can all learn. And we can all come to a fresh and new understanding about what it truly means to value and honor each individual for who they are and what they are. So I want to make a promise, a commitment, that we're going to try to eradicate those things that are sexist about ourselves, sexist that live out in the world, and learn to embrace a new kind of culture in our congregation that doesn't see just the gender of the person, but sees the person and all of the gifts, all of the abilities, and all of the love and all of the lives that they embody in that person. So men, next time we want something done around here, we might have to go back to school to learn how to do it, but we're going to go back and we're going to learn how we can truly be that fully inclusive community. And I'm going to challenge some of the men in our congregation to reach out to women and to broaden our own circles, because sometimes we do segregate ourselves. We do separate ourselves out. And we don't honor the fact that we have such a diverse group of people. challenge some of our men to think about the conversations that we have and how sometimes those conversations aren't female friendly, or perhaps are full of such innuendo that women feel uncomfortable around us. And to think about how we incorporate sexism in our own lives. And it's not just about women. It's not just about men. The reality is that we all need to find a way in which, as a sacred people of God, we can be progressive enough that we can live as Jesus lived, reaching out, embracing, encouraging all of God's people. So this morning, folks, I pray that I haven't just got up here and given you a rah-rah sermon on Jesus. I pray that what I've done and what I've got up here this morning has inspired us to think about how we live and to challenge our bodies, if we truly want to live like Jesus, challenged our own lives to become more like him. The Jesus who not only was taught to include more by a woman, but that same Jesus who honestly spent more time with women and commending them for their faith than he ever did with those men who just seemed to think they had it all together. Sisters and brothers, I pray that you will share in us with this sacred conversation and honor one another as indeed we honor Jesus this morning. God's blessing. God's blessing. And would you pray with me? Loving God, sometimes we're a bit like the Apostle Paul. We live our theology out there, and sometimes we say things that actually don't resonate with the Jesus that we believe in. And we don't condemn Paul for that this morning. We thank him because it shows the humanity of who he is. And we get to identify with the Apostle Paul sometimes because we've been in that same position. But we don't follow Paul. If we did, we would be Paulians. We follow Jesus, the Christ. And that's what makes us Christians. So I pray this morning, God, that we might be able to look at Jesus. The Jesus that we get to see in the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and get to a better understanding of his experience. And if we're truly honest with that experience, all we see is a Jesus who continued to break down barriers, continued to get outside the box, continued to lift people up, to honor them and to validate them. Yes, Jesus occasionally chastised and challenged people, but that challenge was so that they might become more Christ-like. So my hope and my prayer this morning is that we've been challenged, each and every one of us. But that challenge would encourage us to become more like Jesus. Now, God, I pray that you would take the words that have come from my mouth and not allow them to return to the earth without inspiring us. Because a sermon is never complete until the people of God enact it in their own lives. May we enact this principle this morning, to treat one another equally and fairly, and to honor each other for the gifts that we bring, living from those gifts, to the honor and glory of Jesus.